So welcome back to Portugal. We are in Ancião, and this is our last day here in Ancião on our property viewing tour. If you've not seen the previous videos, do go and check those out. Yesterday we had a really busy day yesterday.
I'm exhausted.
It's unbelievable how exhausting just walking around looking at houses is. It's physically exhausting, it's mentally exhausting.
And it's hot.
It's hot, very, very hot. I think it was 33 degrees yesterday.
And to be fair, we did spend 2 hours walking around that farm.
We did, yeah. But it's emotionally exhausting because you see all these things, you see all this potential, you get all excited, and then sometimes the reality starts to hit.
And then you realise you've got so many unanswered questions that you need to go and do the research for and find out, well, is that legal, is that not legal?
And there's so many logistics and everything is different and every region is different. So the place that we went yesterday, but we'll show you the video now of our tour around this place. It's a huge 4 hectare farm with forestry area, 2 massive buildings. But this one is a bit different than some of the others that we've seen in that it has a pre-1951 habitation exemption. So we need to do a bit more research on that, exactly what that entails. But we thought we'd show you some of the highlights of the tour. So let's check it out.
And that's the second half. You can hear you have lots of fruit trees, olive trees. For example, these guys make just from the olive trees. There are years that they make 400 olive oil.
Oh, so 400 litres of olive oil.
400 litres of olive oil and about the same of wine.
Wow.
So we are talking, you can have for yourselves, to your friends, to sell to other persons. There is a lot of potential. As you can see, the properties, you see lots of fruit trees over here.
Yep.
And this carry on like that wall where we went, but we will go inside.
So for this video, I was originally planning just to do a standard tour, walk around and show you what we saw. But I think there's more to this story than just looking at this farm, because it was one that we offed on a number of times and really grieved over when we didn't get it. But I think the question here, or the interesting aspect of it, is looking at how much land is the right amount of land for what we wanted to do, and how much is too much, and all of that. So we'll do the tour, and then we'll talk about some of the pros and cons, and then we'll have a discussion a bit later about how much land is too much land.
Just put another type of things like concrete or something.
Or just to put more reinforcing with these the columns.
So more in here on this side.
That's a large building.
So you can extend also for this side. This
For
was
the animals, huh?
the stables, yes. This goes like that. You see that wall over there? Goes like that. Passes in there. The well is in that top over there, and pump water to 2 tanks that is in there.
Okay.
So this carry on and goes around. After we can go in the middle, we can go from the other side and pass around in the middle of the forest. It goes around to that pine, that trees, the highest trees in the back.
The big eucalyptus one?
Yes, and goes there. Okay, this is the top screen. Very thick walls.
Big beams. Nice.
The beams.
Oh, wow.
There's another one in here.
And this was all just used as storage in the past, yeah? Looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah, sim. Ok. Também estava com mais pressa do que hoje.
Look at that
Looks
view.
like electricity, no? This one?
This one, yes. It's the cable that comes from the electricity that comes in here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, this is the
Front porch. And the view.
That view is amazing.
amazing, yeah.
Oh, this is the closest neighbour.
A hell's views. Very nice, huh?
Oh. Down there.
Yeah, you can see the boundary.
Along that wall there where we came up.
Okay.
Okay. Let us see.
You see, it's also
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
It's also, the walls are quite thick walls, as you can see.
Yeah.
That is good. It means that is the structure. If you take this render, you will show in the stone. That is a nice thing. You understand? It's the same in the bedrooms. the same situation. And we can see in here also, there is the door. That door that goes for that side of the house, where I said you can put the roof. And you have more windows in here. Just put the ceilings are good high. Now this one is
Yeah, because you see these big concrete beam. So you've got a block and beam ceiling.
Yeah.
And these are running from this far wall all the way to the other one, and they're supported in the middle. So everything inside, other than this one in front, can go.
So
on this side.
Line this with some membrane.
Yeah,
It's not a difficult work to be done, because the most important work is already done, new.
Yeah. Just needs the insulation.
Very good. Internal walls that we have, for example, fire exit or something.
Yeah,
like that. That is always good.
And self-protect the walls. If you own trees, you can cut them down.
You can cut it almost. If I was me, I will cut all the eucalyptus tree that is close to them.
Yes.
So as you've seen, the house was not in great condition, but was essentially a half-finished project where they'd put in some new walls and ripped out a bunch of the old stuff. But the thing that was really, really amazing about this place was the views and the land. I mean, this walk through the forest was just incredible. And when we come out the other side, we'll take a walk through some of the olive groves and the vineyards. It was really just mind-blowing.
To make marmalade.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's marmelade, we call it.
Ah. Normally we make marmalade from laranja.
Laranja you can make, but Portugal is more about this, marmelade. It's very nice.
We'll have to do lots of learning when we move to Portugal.
There is that one over there that we saw, and we have another one in here.
Yeah.
Let me see which.
Look at this.
Very nice, huh?
Yeah, the mint, the wild
And they
mint.
are already very
nice.
well done, you
Nice
understand?
and nice. Do you know how old they are?
They should have many years, but
Many.
But the one that takes care of them, you can see that she's
Trimmed
been pruned,
They've been well trained and they're pruned nicely.
yeah, that's it. And they didn't get a higher. That is the problem. They cut it. That is good.
So is this
There is more.
entrance?
Yeah.
There's the entrance from here.
and that goes back onto the road.
Yeah.
It's good because you have lots of different entrances. You understand?
The tractors and whatnot.
For tractors, for what you want. There's more apple tree over here. Fig trees. Yeah.
Tree, this one.
Big fig tree. Lovely little figs on it.
Pale in comparison to this very small.
A pear tree. This is a pear tree. This one.
This is your fruit forest, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh wow, look at all these olives.
It's nice, huh?
Yeah. It's large.
It's huge.
You see the dropping system, the irrigation?
Oh, it's all along here. Oh, yes, I see.
That side they are in very good.
Yeah, that makes it easy.
And where is it controlled from?
The barn or the house?
From the tanks.
Okay, so there's
we can
a...
go to the tanks and we see the system in there. It's nice, huh?
It's very hot.
No, sleepy.
Yeah. Let's
Is
go.
that? Oh, okay.
And for example, this is the good size.
Well, while we're young.
Well, we'll get to talking about size in a second. Apparently size does matter in Portugal. Before we talk about that, let's talk about some of the pros and cons. So this place had incredible views. It was an amazing location, not far from a big town of Serta. It had the forest area for the timber. There was these beautiful vineyards, 2 vineyards, and over 100 olive trees. Not just one building, but 2 buildings, both needing a huge amount of work, of course, but huge potential as well. Loads of land and essentially a blank canvas. because it was a half-finished project with nothing in there already. But that's also one of the cons, of course. And there was also no septic, no sewerage, no water connection. There were electrics, but they were the old electrics, so there was no new electrical installation, no kitchen, no bathroom. And of course, the two buildings to renovate was also, it's a pro and a con, as was the lots of land. Because as we were walking around, we were like, this is incredible. I mean, it was a beautiful day. It was very hot, about 33 degrees. And we were seeing all of these beautiful trees. It was so quiet and peaceful, walking through the vines, walking through the olive groves, through the fruit trees and all of that. Amazing. But we really had no idea of how much time, effort, money, work, labor would be required to manage all of this. This farm was 4 hectares of land, so that's 40,000 square meters, and that's a lot. Just to put it into perspective, the flat that we used to live in London had a garden of about 25 square meters. So, bit of a change of pace. In terms of the land though, about half of the land was forest. So it wasn't like 4 hectares of farmland. It was 2 hectares, 2.5 hectares of forest, maybe 1.5 hectares of farmland. But most of that was vineyards and olive trees. So there wasn't actually a huge amount of flat area for growing veg or having much pasture for animals. Although there's plenty of space, I'm sure we could have found some space for animals. But we didn't know anything about the scale of this. We didn't know how long does it take to harvest and prune 100 olive trees? How much time and effort does it take to manage 2 hectares of the forest to make sure that there's no fire risk and all sorts of stuff like that? What about the boundary walls? They were half falling down, some of them. Are we going to go through and rebuild a perimeter wall around 4 hectares? I have no idea. So yeah, it was just all a little bit overwhelming. But that was very much kind of offset by the wow factor. So despite all of the unanswered questions and potentially the huge amount of work, not just on renovating the buildings, but managing the land, we put in an offer. We'd been told that the owners wanted to sell, that they were kind of fed up with managing the land themselves. And so we put in a cheeky offer of 60,000 euros, which was well below the asking price of 98,000. But given the amount of work that was required, this wasn't a property that you could buy and move into. There was huge amounts there. Unsurprisingly, that offer was rejected about 3 days later. It was quite a slow process getting the offers made and then getting the responses. And there wasn't a huge amount coming back from the owners. So we upped our offer to 65. Again, this was rejected. And there was a huge amount of mourning and grief, actually. We really, there was something about this place. It was very, very strange. We really, really loved it. But it was kind of this bizarre, almost like some kind of fantasy thing where it was being, knocked back. It's really, really hard to describe, actually, but a very, very strange experience because, we were looking at this thing that was going to be a huge amount of time, effort and money. And yet it was something that we really, really wanted. So we actually put in a much higher offer a couple of weeks later. We upped our offer to 75,000, which was really stretching our budget given the amount of work that had to be done on the property. By this stage, we were pretty much like, well, let's just forget about the second property. We'll leave that for, many years ahead and just focus on the first one. But this offer was also rejected. And we were slightly surprised because we'd been told that they were open to offers and that they wanted to get rid of it. But then we actually heard a few weeks later that another interested party had put in an offer shortly after us, and they put in a bid of 90,000, which was also rejected. So clearly these guys wanted to get as much as they could out of this place. And so it really was too much for us. Our budget wouldn't stretch that far given the amount of work. And whilst we did literally mourn the loss of this property, we got to work looking at other options. And it was during that time where we actually found the place that we ultimately bought. And this was in a huge contrast in terms of the size and the scale to the 4 hectare farm, because the place that we've bought is just under 3,000 square meters. So less than 10% of the large farm. But the reason that we were happy to do that and to go for somewhere much smaller was because we actually looked at the space, it was 3,000 meters of usable land. And we mapped out all the things that we actually wanted to do. We looked at where would the veg garden go and how big would that veg garden need to be to feed the two of us for, over the course of a year. Was there space for a swimming pool? Was there space to keep chickens and goats? Was there space to build maybe a workshop or a studio or a granny flat, something like that? And was there space for an outdoor kitchen? And we actually realized that 3,000 square meters of usable land was actually plenty of space for what we wanted to do. So we had got a little bit swept away with the dream of the large house on the hill and the huge pieces of land and making 400 litres of olive oil and 400 litres of wine, which would have been just about enough to sustain us for a year. We ended up with something much smaller, although still large, don't get me wrong, and much, much more manageable. And again, just to put things in perspective, on the farm that we did buy, we've cleared an area of about 200 square meters for a veg garden, and that took us 4 days. So I have no idea what we would have got ourselves in for if we ended up with 40,000 square meters. So maybe this is the one that got away. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. I don't know, but we're very, very happy with what we have bought. And that is exactly what we're going to show you in the next video. We'll take you on a tour of the farm that we did buy, both inside the house and outside. So that's the plan for the next video. I'll see you then.